One way this increasing centralised authority was felt was in the decline of the smuggling industry across the southwest. Long ago, there were no government controls on trade with other countries. People came and went across the channel freely, with no one to enforce restrictions. We would trade cloth and wool with the French, and they would trade wine, spices and other goods with us. This worked very well until the 17th century, when the idea arose that trade should be restricted to encourage domestic industry. Tariffs were introduced, taxes charged at ports, and naturally, we didn't want to pay them. In many communities, this made smuggling become a way of life. In Dorset, for example, there are tunnels linking local churches to the beach, as in Moonfleet. Customs agents wouldn't want to look in a church crypt. On Chesil Beach, it was said a smuggler could gauge his location at night by picking up a pebble and judging its size. In places like the Jamaica Inn in Cornwall, they became famous or infamous for smuggling. Rumours even suggested that smuggling sometimes extended to the deliberate wrecking of ships. Historically, people have always had the right to salvage items washed up between the tide lines. Once property was in their hands, it became legally theirs, a practice called right of salvage that still continues today. In the past, this was crucial for survival. Driftwood and other materials were used for building. A woman near Beminster, I know for instance, has a house roof made from the remains of an old boat. Useful materials from the sea were repurposed in various ways, which were particularly important in a region lacking raw materials and easy access to supplies. Some stories, however, claim ships were deliberately lured onto rocks so their goods could be salvaged using lanterns hung from donkeys to mimic masts swaying at sea. When ships approached, they would crash, often with deadly consequences. Local remembrance of this dark past does exist, and I believe was nodded to by the name of North Devon's local radio station Lantern FM. However, there is little historical evidence of any deliberate intent, as was hinted at by the Jamaica Inn story. The truth, though, is that most southwest communities worked hard to rescue sailors in distress. Volunteer lifeboat crews trained rigorously, often racing each other, a tradition that influenced modern rowing teams, particularly in Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly, where annual rowing festivals are still held. Over time, smuggling declined as enforcement from London gradually increased. Enforcers, old-time custom officials, sometimes faced ostracism or even outright violence from communities that resented their interference. But there was little sympathy from local communities for the enforcers' plight. Ghost stories from this period almost invariably depict smugglers as sympathetic, with government agents cast as the villains. The West Country's secluded bays, like Walborough Bay seen here, facilitated smuggling practices such as exchanging goods via buoys in the channel, a system reminiscent of geocaching today.